I didn't know when I was in high school, I didn't know about landscape architecture either. And I think when I was your age, I was still cutting grass and manually digging out bushes and uh, tending to people's yards to make extra cash. I actually did that all through high school. I had a little bit of a landscaping business, but that was not my, I don't think that was the foundation of my curiosity for landscape architecture, more so my comfort level with being outside and doing yard work and fundamentally understanding plant systems and why grass grows. Uh, I didn't learn about landscape architecture until I was in my 20s. I was living in New York and I got really into the urban agriculture movement and the sustainable, uh, uh, basically in general, the green movement that started to be really popular in conversation. Two concurrent things happened. I heard about a woman named Majora Carter who did a project called the Sustainable South Bronx Project. And I would encourage you to look into the details of that project. But at the same time, I read a book by a man named Dixon Despommier called Green Metropolis. And these concepts of the built environment serving people in a more just way, in a more environmentally friendly way, really intrigued me. And so while I'm living and working as a businessman in New York, I started a book club. And the book club was called Men Garden. And it was for the purposes of first starting intriguing conversations with friends, but then expanded into like, how can we have a more impactful relationship built environment around us? Now in New York, not a room for people to play, but with the space that I had available to me, we started to do small scale projects. We did my backyard in the brownstone that I lived in. And I was fortunate to live down the block from my grandmother. And so we started to do tree planting and stuff like that in her backyard, little beautification projects, if you will. And that was the nexus of my interest in a degree in landscape architecture. So I am a city planner, and essentially the City of Detroit's Planning and Development Department, that's the department I work within of the City of Detroit. I'm a city guy. The role is for a vision of Detroit that's healthy and inclusionary and reflects all of its citizens. And the built environment goal is, for a planner at least, is to coordinate amongst all the different community groups, residents, departments that are operating in that vicinity, to coordinate those efforts for the best possible outcome, time frame, and so forth and so on. Now, in the City of Detroit, we have a special initiative with neighborhood planning called the Strategic Neighborhood Fund. The Strategic Neighborhood Fund is a fund of consisting of corporate and philanthropic dollars matched with city funds that gets doled out between currently 10 neighborhoods in the city that have already either completed the planning process and projects are being built as a result, or are underway with the planning process, and when complete, projects will begin to get built in those neighborhoods. As a planner, we coordinate efforts between a lot of different departments, but the four main buckets, if you will, that we concentrate on are economic development, improving our streets and roads, housing and apartments, and parks and open spaces. Within those four avenues, we try to impact projects by enticing community engagement. We go out and have at least 4 public meetings where we present from soup to nuts different development concepts to make sure that we have the correct kind of recommendation for what should get built. We have a series of focus groups and meetings with other city departments to kind of iron out the details and turn something from just a conversation into a built reality where somebody's job is to make sure a thing happens and that people like it and that it's safe. It's a good deal of being kind of a mastermind, but I don't think delegation is the word that I would use, because I don't necessarily boss other departments around. More like coordinate and collaborate with other departments to align initiatives so that the best possible outcome is what the community residents who have to live with that stuff, you know, we get them the best possible outcome. So at the end of it all, what it will look like is new parks or improved parks where you know, equipment needs to be updated, or creating a park in the area of a park gap, or turning over land to community groups and helping with the funding operation side of things to turn vacant land into beautified small pocket parks or community gathering spaces. For houses and apartments, we make money and we find local nonprofits or community development organizations to do single family housing rehabilitation. And if you know anything about the city of Detroit, a few years ago, the city was bankrupt. And what happened when the city went bankrupt is a lot of people left the city, and they left the homes that they were living in. Sometimes they were sold, sometimes they were not. And the result is, you know, a good deal of vacancy where the city has already demolished houses that were an eyesore, blighted, or nefarious activity was happening in them. Now we have a gap on a residential block. And the question of what do you do is the answer that as a planning department, we get to coordinate, help collaborate, and then ultimately implement. Well, we don't implement it, but ultimately, you know, influence them being implemented, I should say.